Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mark, and I'm from SalonBridge. And welcome to the training webinar for the SalonBridge software. We are planning to do this on a bi-weekly basis, so once every 2 weeks. And really, the goal behind this is to allow new salons and spas to become familiar with what we do, but then also to interact with any new features that we launch, and also just to answer some questions that we get during that 2 week period, and cover some common questions that come up, and also go through some tricks of the trade and features that you may or may not be familiar with. These can also be used as feedback sessions to sort of help you to understand how you can best use SalonBridge to manage your salon and spa. But really, it's meant as a training guide or a refresher for those of you that are already familiar with the software. So you'll notice that when you're at the moment are seeing the SalonBridge dashboard, this is obviously just for a trial account that we have. What I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize my face in the bottom left-hand screen so that we can focus on the full screen experience. But I will bring it back a little bit later as we touch on some questions. If you do have questions, feel free to type them out in the YouTube question or chat section. Or if you're already logged into the console, feel free to make use of our live chat feature through Intercom, located at the bottom left of your console, to ask questions, and we'll cover them as we get there. So to get started, what I'm going to do is basically just go through some of the features of this if you're logging in for the first time. So when you sign up for SalonBridge, you will receive login details, which will take you to this screen over here. And this is your dashboard. This is what you see at the beginning of every day, or what your receptionist might see. This is not a view that a receptionist might get. We're logged in as an administrator right now, so we're able to see things like the appointment history for the last 6 months. We can see business statistics over here. We can see the number of appointments for this month, new clients added, retail products sold, and the projected revenue for this month as well. Over here, we can see a list of today's appointments, and we're able to see who's coming, what they're having done, who they're seeing, and what the status of this appointment is. You'll notice that for some customers, there's a little birthday cake icon over here. And this is really just to indicate that this customer has a birthday today. So when this customer does arrive at your salon or spa, you can wish them a happy birthday. It's just one way of boosting that customer engagement. On the left-hand side of the screen, we have our primary navigation. So this is where you navigate to different elements of SalonBridge. And you'll notice that the first item over here is obviously home, which is where we are right now. But then just below that is the calendar. And this is where all of your appointments go, where you can see what your staff are doing, where you manage your day-to-day tasks and client appointments. Beneath that, we have the clients section, where you can add or manage your clients. You're also able to monitor your client birthdays and keep track of what messages have been sent to your customers from SalonBridge. And we'll touch on this a little bit later, but this is closely related to your appointment notifications, reminders, birthday messages, thank you messages, that sort of thing. Beneath the client section, we have the account section. And an account is very similar to a bill. So the way that SalonBridge works is when an appointment gets created, it gets added to a customer's account. When they pay for that appointment, that payment gets recorded on that account, or bill, if you will. And when the payment is equal to what is owed, that account will be closed off automatically. This is also quite important, as I will go through this again a little bit later on in more detail. But if you run things like packages, or you have customers that pay for appointments up front, accounts is a nice way to help manage that as well. Gift cards is where you're able to issue and redeem gift cards or vouchers. You're able to send these to your customers electronically, or you're able to make use of the gift card feature to generate unique voucher numbers and write them on physical cards if you want for your customers. The My Business section is where most of your configuration happens. This is also where you're able to access the reporting section, but most of this information is where you do your configuration. Things like your business information, your hours and scheduling, your list of services, your retail, expenses, rooms and resources, staff, loyalty management, bulk SMS marketing features, your online bookings, and integrations. And we'll go through these one by one and briefly touch on what each one does and how you can make use of them to benefit your salon or spa. And then finally, the settings section is where you would firstly either change your login details, configure your client notifications, in other words, what gets sent to a customer when a booking is made, whether it be online or in-house, whether the system needs to send your customers birthday messages automatically. The general settings is where you can configure things like your month end and how you want to receive monthly reports from SalonBridge. And then also your billing info, which is basically what we're billing on a monthly basis to your business, and how you can configure certain support features as well. So now that I've touched on some of the navigation, I'm going to dive right in and I'm going to create an appointment from the appointment calendar and walk you through what that process looks like. So the first thing you'll see is when I click on calendar on the left-hand side of the screen over here, you'll see that it brings up the appointment calendar and it lists my staff in columns. I'm able to navigate the appointment calendar here. I can either go back and forward in days. I can click on the today button to go back to today's date, or I can jump to a future date or a past date quickly if I wanted to. And the way that I would make an appointment here is simply by clicking anywhere on this calendar underneath the staff member's name, and it will bring this up where I can put in the client's information and what they're actually coming for. So if I start to type my name, for example, the system is going to give me a list of customers that are already loaded on my profile. And this is just a quick way to load them up automatically. What you're also able to do here is start to type the customer's mobile number. So if you have caller ID, for example, or if you ask the customer what their phone number is, you can start to type that in and the system will bring it up automatically for you, and you can just click on that client's name. The next thing to do is to select a service for what they're actually coming for. So if I choose a men's shortcut, it will choose that service. It will automatically select the staff member under whose column I've clicked, and it will put in the duration automatically for me. If I want to change the start time or end time, I can just click on these time fields and I can change when it starts, and that'll automatically adjust the end time for me based on what I've configured this duration to do time-wise. I'm also able to add subsequent appointments automatically, so I can say add another service, and this will just create a chain service for me. So if I say that this customer is also coming for a manicure and they are seeing Renee Jones, and this is actually going to happen at 4:30, it will automatically, sorry, I just clicked on cancel there, so I'm going to redo that. And when I say book, the appointment will get booked and you'll see these two services added automatically. So here you can see it's listed under each staff member's name, and this closely relates to something that we're going to cover a little bit later as well, but how the system automatically helps you to calculate things like commission and salary structures based on what your staff members do. We have recently launched multiple commission options for you. So previously, where you were able to only specify a set percentage, you're now able to specify a tiered commission structure, or even go into finer details and set a specific percentage per service. And that just allows you to save a little bit extra time at the end of the month when you're calculating commission and you need to work out what you owe your staff. You'll notice that if I move my mouse over any of these appointments, it brings up information about the client, their notes, what the status of the appointment is. And if I move my mouse to where it lists the time, I'm able to click and drag the appointment if I want to move it to something earlier or later, or I can even move it to a different staff member if I want. So if I want to move this to say 4:30, I just move it and I release my mouse and I say yes, change it. If I right click on this particular booking, it also gives me a number of options. I can do things like set the status to arrived, late, no-show, cancel, for example. I can also go straight to the account where one would capture payments or generate an invoice for this customer or SMS them a statement. One can also add retail items to this customer's account as well before they actually pay, and that's all done directly from the account screen. If I just click on this booking, it will bring up the appointment screen where I can see the information about the customer, any notes that there might be for this client, any appointment notes. I'm also able to see what this customer is coming for today. I can edit these if I wanted to. So if I wanted to apply a discount to the manicure, for example, I can click on this little edit icon next to the service. And I can say that this client is having, I'm giving them a 20% discount. And I'm just going to choose that. And it will automatically put in the amount. It just so happens to be 20 Rand as well. And when I say save, you'll see that the discount gets applied to the service. If I click on the Go to Account button, this is where I'm able to see what the customer owes, and something that we've also recently launched, well, not too recently, but certainly since our last live stream, is this little drop down over here. And what this essentially does is it allows you to filter what is displayed on the screen. So because SalonBridge is an account-based system, meaning that you're able to load future dated appointments or appointments that are happening today on a single account, you're also able to preload payments. You do sometimes find that accounts tend to get a little bit busy on the screen. So you might find that you have a number of appointments and payments on the single screen for multiple dates. And what this dropdown allows you to do is filter this by a specific date. So if you only want to see what this customer owes today, you can see everything up until today, or you can filter this just to be for the 28th of October, which is today's date. And it will remove everything else from this view, so it allows you to focus on exactly what this customer owes for a specific date. You'll notice that you're able to, from this screen, add a payment, but you can also do a number of other functions from the screen. So you can add retail, and this is how you would allow a customer to buy a retail product after their appointment. You would click on the Add/Delete Retail button, and this screen will ask you what they're buying. So if I'm buying some hair wax, it will ask me who the selling staff member is. And again, this filters down to commission. So if I'm saying that Candace sold this retail product and the customer bought 2 of these, and I click on the Add Retail button, that gets added to the customer's account automatically, and the amount that they owe now gets automatically updated. If you need to make changes to this, the best way to do this in order to make sure that your commission stays accurate is to simply click on that same button again, the Add Delete Retail button, delete this retail product and re-add it correctly. Or you can also add additional retail products if they choose to buy multiple products as well. The other items that you can do are things like viewing the client if you just want to have a look at some of their information. You can also generate a pro forma. But what we allow you to do from here as well is things like email the client an invoice. So if you have customers that maybe want to pay for things in advance, which is quite popular for expensive spa treatments or even hair services, you can email them an invoice and they can see a bill of what they owe. You can also SMS this directly to the customer, and the way that you do this is just by saying SMS client invoice. It will bring up the customer's information if we have it, and you can tell the system what to send. So in other words, send everything for up until today, everything, or just for this particular date. And I say send invoice, and the system will then SMS that customer an invoice that they can view and pay online if you want to. You're also able to print a receipt if you want, or add a payment. So if I just click on the Add Payment button over here, we allow you to specify what they're paying. You can also specify whether there is a tip that the customer is giving. So you can specify a amount over here, or you can choose a percentage and allow the system to automatically calculate that amount for you. We also allow you to specify who the tip is for. Oftentimes the customer might not want to give a tip to the person that performed the primary service, or you might want to tip multiple people, and that's what this essentially does. So you're able to do that quite easily. And you're also able to specify how the customer is paying. So if the customer pays cash, for example, or with a credit card, you can choose the payment type over here. If I choose cash as a payment type, I can click on Add Payment, and the payment will be captured for me. And you can see from this screen over here, everything that is owed has been paid. So from here, I can either print a receipt or I can generate an invoice as well. What we do sometimes see is when a customer pays for something, let's say cash, but they then change their mind and they actually want to pay by card, we come across a situation where a payment has now been captured incorrectly and needs to be changed to card. So how would we do that? The way that we do that is by first removing this cash payment and then recapturing it as a card payment. So financial transactions such as this inside SalonBridge cannot be deleted. They cannot be removed completely from the system, and this is for security reasons, so that you are able to keep track of all payments that have been logged in the system at all times, and you never come across a situation where you're wondering whether something has maybe been deleted. So if I wanted to change this to be a card payment, I would first go about voiding this cash payment and then relogging it. So I would click this button over here, and I want to put in the amount here that I want to void, which is 626. And the payment type that I want to void is cash. So I'm first doing this, then I'm going to recapture the payment. I now click on void payment, and you'll see it creates a payment line item here. And the amount owed is now back to 626 Rand because I've now undone my payment that I originally did. So now that this is done, I can capture this payment correctly as a card payment. And I would do that exactly the same way as what I did before. I would just say add payment, but I would change the payment type to the correct one, which is credit card, or however the client actually paid. And then the payment will be logged correctly. So this is quite important when you're doing cash up as well. So if you generate a cash up report and you are counting the cash in your till or the slips that have been generated from your card machine and they don't match what SalonBridge is saying, you may find that it is because a payment type has been captured incorrectly and it just needs to be corrected that way. And we'll touch on that, on how to pick that sort of thing up in a few minutes. If I go back to the, if I can close this or generate an invoice if I wanted to, and you'll notice that if I go back to the appointment calendar over here, these appointments have now changed their status to paid, and they are now highlighted in green as well. So you can very quickly see if there's something that hasn't been paid, and if something has not been done at the end of the day as well. This will also reflect on your dashboard. So if I click on the home button, I will see that it will come up with the list of appointments for today, and it will also see the status of these have been paid as well, and what that means. So that's how one would create an appointment, potentially edit some of the items in it, capture a payment, and perform multiple account features over here as well. I'm able to go back into this account at any time if I wanted to. I can, if I just jump back there, I'm able to see exactly what happened on this particular day, how the client paid, and if I really wanted to, as an administrator, reopen this account and correct something if something was done incorrectly. But like I said before, that full history will always be there. If I move on to the client section, I'm able to see things about my customers, either by searching for them. So if I typed in my name, for example, and I clicked on search, my details come up, and if I click on my name, I'm able to see all of my information and I can edit this, or I can also see some of the information here. So this is a test account, obviously, so some of these numbers are quite escalated or don't make much sense, but you're able to very quickly see how many appointments a customer has come for, the revenue that they've brought into the salon or spa, the number of total appointments, cancellations, and no-shows as well. You're also able to see history of their appointments over here, any retail purchases that they've made. So if you ever have a situation where a customer wants to buy what they've maybe bought before, you can come in here and see that information at a glance very quickly. You're also able to do things like modify their notification preferences. So if a customer ever opts out of a notification, you can disable these so that the system will no longer send them messages automatically. The notes section is also something for you, where you can specify notes about the customer. This can be anything from a preference to a color mixture recipe, whatever you find you need to know when that customer is sitting in front of you. These notes are never seen by the actual customer. We don't share this with them at all. This is purely kept internal between you and your staff if they ever need to reference something about this client. The client birthday section is where you're able to see which clients have a birthday in the particular month. So here you can see I have a birthday today allegedly. where I'm able to click on this little icon and I can send the customer a birthday message as well. This is one way to send your customers birthday messages if you don't want to do it automatically. The other way to do it is obviously to have SalonBridge send this automatically for you on the day of your customer's birthday, and that can be configured from the client notification section. So a quick reference here, any type of message that gets generated, whether it be an appointment confirmation or a birthday message or a thank you message, gets configured from the client notification section. So if I click on settings and then client notifications, I'm able to see what notifications are enabled. As this configuration so happens to be, the create appointment SMS is enabled, the edit appointment time and cancel appointment SMS is disabled, the appointment reminder SMS is enabled, and that's scheduled to go out the day before at 12. So what this means is that when I book an appointment from the calendar, the client will get sent a SMS, provided you put in their phone number, and they will also receive an SMS reminder the day before at 12 o'clock. If I click on the edit icon over here, I'm able to see what that message is, and I'm also able to configure this message as you wish. You can make this your own. You can insert any text that you want over here. You can even add links for the customers to click on, but it needs to be within the limits of an SMS message, which is 160 characters. You're also able to tell the system when the reminder messages need to go out. So we have three options. One is the same day, the second is the day before, and the other is 2 days before, and you can configure the time. So based on this existing configuration, the system will send out a reminder the day before that customer's appointment at 12 o'clock, and it will say this. What you'll notice in this section is that we have a number of words that are contained within these square brackets, and we call these filler words. So when it comes to sending the customer something like a reminder, there is no way to automatically type in what that date and time is. So what you're able to do here is put in square brackets appointment date, and what SalonBridge will then do is it will go and find the appointment date and time for that particular client and automatically insert it here. These filler words need to be quite precise. We look for very specific words that happen to be in square brackets. So if, for example, you put a space in between appointment and date in square brackets, the system's not going to pick it up. It needs to be like this. And we actually have an article in our knowledge base about what different types of filler words you're able to use. So you can do things like client name, staff name, appointment date, services, so that you can customize these messages and make them quite unique and specific to that customer. The other types of messages you're able to send over here are things like thank you messages and client birthday messages. So what you can do is send a thank you message after the customer's appointment. For example, if you're wanting to get feedback or if you're wanting to thank them for their loyalty, you can enable this and have SalonBridge automatically send them a message after the appointment. And the way that you would enable this is simply by coming to this thank you section, clicking on the enable slider icon over here, and specifying when you want the message to go out and what you want the message to be, and then clicking on save. And it's as easy as that. And to get back to what I was referring to earlier with the client birthdays, you're able to enable client birthday messages to be sent automatically from this section as well, just by clicking on the edit icon by the client birthday messages, enabling it, and specifying what time of the day on that client's birthday you want to send this message. And this will basically just find the clients that have birthdays on this day and send them a message automatically for you. These messages that get sent from SalonBridge, you're able to see in the client birthdays, or sorry, the client messages section, which is under clients. So if I click on client messages, you'll see that this message was sent today. And if I click on this, this is actually the invoice that I SMS'd to myself. And if I click at the message that was sent just before this, it is the appointment confirmation message that was sent. So here you can see a great example of the filler words being used. I put in staff name and what the service was, and I also put in the appointment date, which automatically pulls through when the appointment was for, which happened to be at 4 o'clock today. This is just a way for you to filter these messages. We also have a search bar over here, so if you want to search for a particular client, you can just type in their name and the system will automatically filter out these messages to only display those messages for you. A great tool if you ever come across a customer that said they never received their reminder message and they end up being a no-show. This is just one way to see what the system actually sends out. So that's basically the client section covered. The accounts section, which is just below this, is one way to quickly access the accounts that appointments get added to. So earlier when we created an appointment, that appointment was added to an account for that customer. And this is just a quick way to access those accounts if you need to perform changes or your cash app isn't balancing and you need to make a change. For example, if I search for my name and I scroll down to this particular account, which was the last one that was created, we can see what I was working on earlier, which was the appointment that I created, the retail that I purchased, and the payment that I created, voided, and then corrected over here. So this is just one way to quickly access that account section. If I move on to the gift card section, this is where you're able to create and redeem gift cards through the system. And this is just one way of rewarding your customers or allowing them to purchase gifts for their friends or family automatically. So what we find quite often happens is a salon or spa will print out vouchers, but they will have no way of keeping track which vouchers are legitimate and which ones aren't, or how much the customers actually used. Another common problem is a customer might lose a voucher once they've been issued it. So, what would be the policy to follow in these type of circumstances? SalonBridge helps you to mitigate that by generating a voucher number that can be tracked inside the system and you're able to use to redeem as a method of payment later on. The SalonBridge system will also keep track of how much has been used, so you can really quickly see if a customer has run out of any balance on their vouchers or how much they have left after they've used it once or twice. The way that one would create a gift card is simply by clicking on the new gift card button and putting in the customer's details. So this is purely for the purpose of generating a unique voucher number. This can be the customer who's purchasing the voucher or the customer that is actually receiving the voucher as well. If I use my details, I can type in my name and click on it, type in the amount that I want to purchase, and specify whether I want to have this voucher sent automatically to the customer via SMS and email. This will send the customer a notification letting them know that they've been sent a voucher to the value of 500 Rand from your salon or spa name, and with a voucher number and expiry date that they can have for later on when they want to redeem it. If I click on the Create Gift Card button, this will create the voucher for me and take me to the account screen where I now need to pay for this voucher. So if you imagine the customer is sitting right in front of you, wanting to purchase a voucher, you would go through that process that I just followed now. They would now need to pay for the voucher, and I would, from this screen, simply say Add Payment and specify how the customer is actually paying. Let's say credit card, for example, or cash for this actual voucher. You'll also notice that the system displays the voucher number over here, and this is a unique code that can be used at a later stage when wanting to pay with this voucher. So this allows you to keep your voucher system secure and mitigate the risk of somebody creating false voucher numbers and using them for payment later on. When you want to redeem a gift voucher, the system is going to ask you for a voucher number. So if I'm on an account screen and I say that this customer is paying with a gift card, the system is going to ask you for a voucher number, and it has to match the code that they bring in. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So this also allows you to just keep the gift card ecosystem, if you will, slightly more secure, and allows you to prevent money loss or theft from happening from your customers as well. If you find that a customer ever loses their voucher or they don't remember what the ID is, you can go to the gift card section on the left over here, and you're able to search for a gift card, or you can type in the customer's name and you can find any gift cards that have been created for this client. You're also able to do things like edit the expiry date, or you can also print it out if you want to view what the remaining balance is and the details for that customer as well. Moving on to the My Business section, and I know that I did mention early on that this is where most of the configuration stuff happens. So if I click on Business Info, for example, you'll see that this is where I can do things like update my business logo. I can edit the name of the business, the description, the phone number, email address, social media links, etc. I'm also able to do things like modify the address and the banking details that appear on the invoice that I send to my customers. So earlier on, when I was on the account screen, I sent myself a invoice via SMS. And when I click on that, it's going to bring up what I owe, and it's going to also display your banking details, and this is where you would configure that. The hours and scheduling section is where you can configure your core business hours. I will get into more specific business hours as well, because we allow you to set this up on a staff level as well, meaning that if you have staff members that work slightly later than this or earlier than this, or on specific days that are outside these core working hours, you can configure that as well. We also allow you to create things like closeouts and staff scheduling. So to touch on those briefly, a closeout is a period of time that you or your staff members aren't working that is not an appointment, and you don't want people to book during that time. For example, if somebody takes a lunch break, or you're closing for the holidays, or a staff member is on leave, that would be an example of a closeout. You are closing out their calendar for a period of time. That can be a couple of hours, or that can be a couple of days, or a couple of weeks. It really doesn't matter. The way that you can create a closeout is you can either do it directly from the calendar, or you can do it from this section over here. So if I go to My Business, Hours and Scheduling, and by the closeout section, I say Add Closeout, I can specify whether the closeout is for all staff or for a particular staff member. I can choose a reason. So we have a number of default reasons over here, but you can also specify your own by choosing Custom. And then you can just put in any reason that you want, really. And you can specify the duration, so say from 12 until 1. You can also tell SalonBridge whether this recurs or not. If I just say that it doesn't recur and I say Add Closeout, it will create that closeout for me for that period of time. And you can view this by going to the appointment calendar and seeing this closeout here. And closeouts are in a slightly transparent red color, so you can quite quickly see it. And you can see what the reason is over here as well, and the time. If you want to delete this closeout, you can click on this closeout and it will ask you if you want to delete it. And you can just say yes, delete it, and it gets removed from the calendar automatically. I did say that the other way you can create a closeout is from the calendar automatically. So if you right click on this appointment calendar, you can say New Closeout. Or if you are on a tablet or touch device, there's a little plus icon in the top right hand corner. If you click on that, you can say that you want to create a new retail sale or a new closeout. And it will bring up the same or similar screen to what you saw before, where you can choose a staff member, what the reason is, and the date and time for this closeout. The services section is where you configure or add your services that you actually provide to your customers. So these are things that customers would book for, or a customer would phone in and actually request to come and have done. And they're grouped by category. So if I click on this category, I can see the list of services that are underneath this category. If I wanted to edit one of these, I can just click on it. And from here, I can change the category, I can change the duration, the price. I can also specify a transition time and a processing time, and I can specify whether this is shown online or whether it has a recipe or not. Recipes are something that falls slightly out of scope of this training session. It's something that we do discuss quite extensively in our knowledge base as well. But a recipe is essentially a way to track what professional stock gets used for a particular service and calculate the exact cost of that service. For example, a haircut might use 100 milliliters of shampoo, 50 milliliters of conditioner, and maybe one or two other products that need to come out of your professional stock. And this will deduct that amount of quantity every time the service gets done. There are other ways to calculate service costs. So, for example, you're able to also just specify what the cost price of the service is for your reporting. Like I said, recipes fall slightly out of scope of this training session, but we will touch on it in a different, more specific session. If you wanted to add a new service, you can click on the Add Service button, and it will ask you for the name of the service, which category it falls into, and you're able to specify an existing category, or you can also add a new category, what the duration of it is, and how much the service actually costs you, which is optional, and how much the customer would actually pay for the service. And again, you can also show things like transition time and processing time. This is a question that we get quite often in terms of what processing time and transition time is. So processing time is mostly specific to the hair industry or hair salons or barbershops, where a customer will come in for a treatment and they will need to wait or sit until the remainder of their service takes place, and it needs to get split up. In other words, if a customer comes for something like a root tint, the first step of that appointment would be to apply the color or the tint. Then they would need to sit or process, if you will, for half an hour, and then they would get something like a blow dry or a cut after that. But that cannot happen until that processing time has elapsed. So what you're able to do is specify, for example, a 30-minute processing time, and when you book this appointment in the appointment calendar, it will leave a 30-minute gap between the root tint and the blow dry automatically for you, so that there's no mix-up. If you have a receptionist booking those appointments for you, it will just leave those gaps automatically and allow somebody else to be put in during that processing time gap. So that's what processing time is. Transition time is something that gets added to the duration of your service without the customer knowing. So if, for example, you offer sports massages and your typical sports massage lasts 30 minutes, but you need 10 minutes between your appointments to reset the room and change the towels or refill some of your products, you can add a 10-minute transition time, and this will book 30 minutes for the customer, but on your calendar, it will book 40 minutes out, which is that 10 minutes that maybe you need in order to reset the room before the other customer can book with you. That's what a transition time is. The show online tick box is something that allows you to hide or show services from your online bookings if you make use of online bookings. Online bookings is one of the features that we offer. It's by no means mandatory. You're able to use SalonBridge with or without it. But we do find that we have customers that want to make use of online bookings, but maybe only offer some of their core services. And in that circumstance, you can choose to only show certain services online, in other words. So that is how services work. You can add or remove them. You're also able to change their order just by clicking and dragging them. So if you want them to be displayed in a different order, or your categories in a different order for when you book them, you can group them by what is most popular and what gets booked the most frequently for convenience purposes. The retail section is quite similar to the services section in that it allows you to add, edit, and delete your retail products quite similarly to how the services are done. You'll see that they're grouped by category as well. And the information here is slightly different, but if I were to add a retail stock item, it will ask me for things like the stock code, which is normally provided on the order form from your supplier or product house. It's optional, so you don't have to add it, but it will potentially save you time if you want to do things like load a stock order. You can specify the name of the product, the category, the current inventory level that you have on hand, which is the amount that you have on your shelves, and then the cost price and retail price as well. And these all filter through to your reports automatically for you. And if you want to edit a retail product, you would just click on it and edit it or update your inventory level. If you get a new order of stock in, we added a feature called the load stock order feature, which is a quick way to update your inventory level without having to go into each retail product and update the inventory. So for example, if you received another 5 hair wax products, you could go in here, say load stock order, you can then specify how much of the hair wax you received, 5 for example, and I can say load order. What the system also allows you to do is to capture this as an expense. So something that will come up over here, once I've loaded a stock order and you would have paid for it, one is allowed to capture the amount that you paid for the retail products as an expense. This isn't a requirement. You can say no thanks, and you can load it later on if you want to, but this will automatically update your inventory for you quickly without having to go in the long way. And expenses is something that we'll touch on a little bit later, but it just essentially allows you to capture your expenses so that you're able to report on that and do things like a profit and loss directly from SalonBridge. The professional stock is something that is falling slightly out of scope for this session. It is just something where you're able to load what stock you have that gets used for services. So everything you use at the basin or on clients when you perform a service is what's called professional stock. And it's very similar to the way that you would load or edit retail stock, except it asks you what your inventory level is, whether it be milliliters, grams, or units, and what your cost price is for that amount. And we calculate a cost per milliliter or per gram or per unit. And that is how we build the exact cost of what your services come to when you load up something like a recipe for a service. Again, it falls slightly out of scope here, but we do have quite extensive articles on our knowledge base about professional stock and how you can create recipes for your services. The expenses section is where you're able to capture your business expenses, whether it be from your petty cash or from your bank account. The only staff members that have access to this are your branch managers and administrators. Individuals or receptionists don't have access to this section, so they can't see it. But the way that it works is you are required to create a business account first. A business account is nothing more than a bank account, for example, or a petty cash drawer with money in it. It's something that you would log expenses against. So if to do this practically, I will create an account. I'm going to call it petty cash. And this is going to be the money that sits in my drawer at my salon, for example. I'm going to choose the account type, which is going to be a cash account, but you can also say that it's a credit card or bank account. And I'm going to make the opening balance 500 Rand. And this will create a petty cash account of 500 Rand. And this is what will typically be sitting in my drawer right now. Once I've done that, I can log expenses against this account. So if, for example, I run down to the store to get groceries or stationery, I can capture that as an expense. So I would do that by saying add expense. I would give it a name saying stationery. The category you can choose over here based on the number of accounting categories. So if I were to just put something like, maybe do something like supplies. Again, you would choose the category that best matches what this expense is. You can specify a vendor. So if I were to choose this vendor as an example, I can specify how much I paid for this expense. So if I spent 100 Rand at Walton's, I can then log it against the petty cash and I can create a note if I want to. When I say add expense, that gets created and the amount in my petty cash comes down by 100 Rand, which is what I paid. You're able to report on this as well. So if at the end of the month you've captured all of your expenses and you want to track how much you're spending on stationery or how much you're spending on advertising or laundry, you're able to do that from the reporting section. And I think that's a nice way to kind of go into what our reports offer. So we are extremely passionate about the types of reports that we offer. You can pull reports on just about anything that relate to your customers, the appointments, what you're offering, how busy your staff are, whether things are as optimal as what they should be, whether you're getting a lot of repeat customers or not. So from the report section, you're able to choose a number of report types. And I'll show you what these are. I'll go through one or two, but there are some essentials. So if, for example, I go to the first one, which is a client report, I'm able to see a subtype over here. And I can do things like see a list of customers, total visits by staff. I can see my top spending clients. I can see average spend per visit. I can do things like run a report on my new versus repeat customers. So if, for example, I chose this report for the last month and I wanted to see it on screen, I can click on Generate Report and it will give me that number instantly. It'll show me that in the last month on this test account, I've had 13 unique visitors. Of that, 7 were new clients and 6 were recurring clients, and it breaks it down for me in a nice graph over here as well. So on a number of our reports, we do offer visuals, the ones that obviously make sense. Not all reports offer this, but the ones that are obviously quite conducive to visual reports, we do offer it. For all of our reports, you're able to view them on screen, but you can also download them in an Excel spreadsheet or PDF document if you want to use it for later reference. The other important report that we offer here is a cash up report. And this is something that you should really be doing on a daily basis. And if I just do it for today, it's going to show me a summary of my services that I've done, retail products I've sold, gift cards that I've sold, and give me a subtotal and a total. And then beneath that, it's going to show me a breakdown of my payments. It's going to show me a subtotal, and then it's also going to include my cash float if you've loaded this as a business account as well. And this is something, these 2 lines are something that's been added with the expenses feature, because we now, if you're counting the cash in your drawer, including your petty cash, you need to be using this total rather than this total, if that makes sense. So based on this, I'm able to see that my total for today was 1,126 Rand. My payments that came in today was 626 of card payments, 500 cash, totaling 1126. So I balanced for this day. And this is something that you should really be doing on a daily basis. If you don't balance, there needs to be a pretty legitimate reason. For example, somebody's paying at the end of the month, or they've prepaid for a number of services, and that's all explainable. We also show you a list of expenses on this cash up report, and we give you a summary breakdown of what each staff member did. We do offer much more detailed reports on the employee breakdown as well, things like commission reports or sales and revenue reports. If, for example, I wanted to do a sales and revenue report, I can choose to do a commission report or a staff turnover report, or just a report by staff member for today. And what this will do is it'll break down what each staff member did for services, including VAT, retail cost, retail sales, total with gratuities. So you can quite quickly see what each staff member is doing and whether they're performing or not. But again, if you wanted to do something quite autonomously, you could load up staff commission and simply do a commission report at the end of the month or at the end of the day, and you can see the totals of what the staff member is said to earn commission-wise for what they've done. The staff section, which I didn't jump over, but I wanted to sort of segue into that from the reporting section, is where you can configure your staff members, load up additional staff members if you're bringing on a new person, or you can also configure the commission structure for each staff member. If, for example, I clicked on this staff member over here, I'm able to see what the staff member is able to do service-wise, and I'm also able to do something like configure commission. So if I click on the configure commission button, you can see that it's set to be a set percentage at 0% commission, meaning that this staff member does not earn commission. If you wanted to say that this staff member earned 20% commission on services and 10% commission on retail purchases, regardless of how much they bought in, you can simply add that as the commission percentages and save it. Alternatively, what you're able to do is something like a tiered percentage, where if they earn between 0 and 10,000 Rand, they earn, let's say, 20%. And if they earn between 10,001 to, I don't know, a million, for example, they earn 40%. So this is how you can quite easily set a tiered commission structure and have SalonBridge do the work for you. The alternative here is to calculate at the end of the month what each staff member did, the retail, the services, what they brought in, and calculate based on that what percentage they earn. This will do it automatically for you and show you what breakdown they're on, what percentage they're on, how we got to those totals, with a total at the bottom that you can print out and give to them. And it makes it super easy for you and your bookkeepers, rather than have to sit there at the end of the month with a spreadsheet or a pen and paper and do it yourself. This is just one other way to do it. The final commission structure that we have is a custom commission structure, and this really allows you just to go through each service and retail product and set a percentage for each one. This isn't a very common commission structure, but if you do have certain services or certain retail products that they would earn a slightly higher commission for, this is how you could do it. You could load up a base percentage of 10%, but if they do waxing, for example, you can give them 15% or 20% commission for that particular service. The other method of configuration that you're able to do here for the staff member is the working hours and online booking hours. And this is a question that comes up quite regularly, where we'll get a support ticket saying that I have opened up their working hours to be able to work on a Friday, but if I go to the online bookings, it says that they're closed. So we allow you to differentiate these working hours for a very good reason, and that reason is that you may not want to open up your online bookings for Saturdays and Sundays, for example, but your salon or spa may actually be open on those days. Or you may find that you only want to allow online bookings on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, but you're actually open 5 days a week. This is how you can configure that. So you can specify the working hours over here, 9 to 5, 9 to 5. But if the staff member maybe works on a Saturday as well, you can just tick on that tick box over here and you can configure their working hours to be from, say, 8 to 7. And then on the online booking side, I'm going to open up their online bookings, but I'm only going to open it up on Saturdays from 9 until 1. When I'm happy with that, I can click on save, and this will save that staff's working hours, and it will update it in the appointment calendar and on the online booking side as well if you make use of online bookings. That's how you configure working hours for staff. And if you find that you are not able to book on a particular time or a day, it may just be that that staff's working hours are not configured correctly and just needs to be updated, which is a really straightforward thing to do. The other really nice feature that you're able to do from the My Business section is your marketing. So if you wanted to send a bulk message to your customers, you're able to do that from SalonBridge. And the way that you would do this is just by going to the marketing section, clicking on Add SMS Campaign, and giving it a name and what you want to go out. What the system will do is it will look for this date and time and send it to all the clients that you have specified it should go out to. If you're running a special for December, or if you're running a Black Friday promotion, this is a really nice feature and really great way to get the message out to your customer base really, really quickly and autonomously. You don't have to set it up manually. You can tell the system when to send it out. For example, the 31st at 8 o'clock, and you can specify the message over here, and you can even group it by specific customers. So you can send it to all of your clients, or you can send it to everybody that's got a birthday, or you can send it to subsets of your clients using the client tags feature, which is something that we have under the client's profile, where you're able to group your customers based on whether it be spend or how often they visit, or however you want to basically group them. And when you create that campaign, it will appear here as a campaign that you can see, and the system will send it automatically to your customers on the date that you specify. These use the SMS credits that you have allocated to your account. So with every account, SalonBridge allocates credits to your account every month for free. Depending on which package you're on is based on how many free SMS credits you get every month. So for example, if you're on a package that gives you 250 or 500 free SMSs every month, that's how many get allocated to your account. And those get used for things like appointment notifications, reminders, birthday messages, and bulk SMS campaigns as well. If you run out of these credits, you're able to top them up from the client notifications section, which we covered earlier on. And you can see that the way to top them up is really straightforward. You click on top up and you can specify how many you want to buy. If you don't use any of these credits, they roll over to the following month, and we have a policy right now where SMS credits don't ever expire. So you can see that this account has 4523. That's because the free SMSs are just accrued month on month and have just never been used. So that's how the marketing system works, and it works really nicely. It's a great way to promote specials or promotions, or even if you're saying to your customers that you're closing over the holidays for a specific period and you just want to let them know, it's a great way to do that. The online booking section is where you can configure your online bookings page. We have two ways of facilitating online bookings. One is where you have your own website and you want to allow customers to book directly from that website. So we offer an embed option where you can embed online bookings into your website just using this little piece of code. You would give this to your website designer or developer. They would add it to your website, and all of a sudden you can now instantly accept online bookings. It's amazing. The other way is if you don't have a website but you still want to accept online bookings, we actually give you a bookings page that you can customize and add to your Facebook profile or Instagram account, so that when a customer clicks on book now, they get taken to this online bookings page where they can see information about your salon or spa, where you're based, and they can make a booking online. We do also have the ability for you to start charging a deposit for these bookings. So if you make use of a company like PayFast, which is a payments gateway company for facilitating online credit card transactions, you're able to charge your customers a deposit. And the way that this works is it basically just asks your customer to pay a 50% or 100% deposit before the booking gets confirmed. So if you have PayFast enabled inside the SalonBridge account, you can enable the secure deposit over here, and you can specify the percentage that you want to charge your customers. And if you want to save that, I will show you how it works. So now that I've enabled it, and a customer would come to your online bookings page to make a booking, they click on book now, they choose a appointment, let's say men's shortcut. They can then find availability for you, if there is any availability for that staff member. Let's say the 23rd of November at 9:30. I click on next, and the final step here would be then to be redirected for payment and booking. So if you find that you are getting a lot of no-shows, or you're a little bit reluctant about opening up online bookings because you're worried that your customers aren't going to rock up, this is a great way to alleviate that worry and have your customers pay a deposit in advance. What I find is that you do see a slight reduction in new customers booking online, but your existing customers have absolutely no problem booking that appointment, making that deposit, because they know that they're going to arrive and they're going to come for that appointment because they want that slot with you. And when you do enable the PayFast option for online bookings, it also allows you to do things like sell gift cards online. So if I wanted to allow my customers to purchase gift cards automatically now, they can come over here, say buy gift voucher, and they can actually specify an amount that they want to buy, and they can go through a similar process, and they will then be required to make a payment for that gift card. When an online booking is made or a gift card is purchased, it appears automatically in your SalonBridge calendar, and you get sent a notification automatically letting you know that there's been an online booking. We also allow you to specify how far in advance a customer can book, whether it be for same-day bookings or next-day bookings. You can configure all of that from the online booking section. The integration section over here is essentially where you're able to link third parties to SalonBridge. So I just went over the online booking section, and the part that refers directly to that is PayFast as well. So if you're wanting to accept online payments for your gift cards, or you're wanting to allow your customers to make that secure deposit before their online booking is made, you can enable PayFast from the integration section. You can also do things like enable the Yoko integration to allow SalonBridge to communicate to your card reader automatically. We do also have an integration into MailChimp. So if you are sending out email marketing campaigns and you want to synchronize your customers that get added in SalonBridge to your MailChimp client list, you're able to enable this integration, and we will send that client information in the background to MailChimp, so you don't have to manually go and add those customers to your MailChimp account. So that's a nice quick way to do that. that about covers the My Business section. It is rather heavy and there are quite a few items here, but it's important to remember that most of this is done at the point of configuration or setup. One of the nice things that we also offer is free account setup. So if you do have a list of your services or retail products that you want imported into your SalonBridge account, we do have a template that allows us to import that really quickly for you, rather than you having to go into the services section, for example, and loading it automatically. So that's also a nice way to get set up nice and quickly. Underneath the settings section, we've covered most of the items, for example, your login details and your client notifications. The general settings section is where you're able to configure things like how you want your calendar to look, how often you want a business summary email, and when your month starts. And this really just filters through to what numbers appear on your dashboard. If, for example, I change this to be the 29th of the month, then my dashboard would look slightly different, because it would look for numbers dating back from the 28th until the 29th as opposed to the 1st to the 1st. The billing info is where you would activate your account if you're on a trial status, but it also allows you to see your method of payment and what support plan you're on. So we offer free unlimited support during business hours to all of our clients, and we have a number of channels for that. One of which is the live chat, which is this little icon over here in the bottom left-hand corner. If you click on that, you're able to strike up a conversation. Alternatively, you can also send us a WhatsApp message to our business WhatsApp line, and that is just our business landline, which is 021 200 5889. If you send a WhatsApp message to that number, one of our support staff will get back to you, but you can also phone us or email us as well. We do also have premium level support, which is essentially support 7 days a week during extended office hours. So that's 8 to 10, 7 days a week. And that also includes things like monthly strategy sessions, prioritized support, quicker response times on new features, that sort of thing. And the way that you can enable that for your salon or spa is just to come to the billing info, click on upgrade under your support plan, and choose a support plan that basically works for you. On this, we also do things like proactive account monitoring. So if you're having cash up issues, we'll pick it up often before you will, and just flag that with you as well. That about covers the session over here. For today, what we have done is obviously quite extensive. We have covered a lot of what we offer, but what I normally encourage customers to do is to play around with these things. Go into the system, make some bookings from the appointment calendar, capture some payments, run reports. We are very passionate about the types of reports that we offer. We are a firm believer that if we give you the ability to see how your business is doing, it gives you the power to make changes early on and essentially monitor your business to see what's working, what isn't, and whether you need to make changes, especially going into season now. These sessions are going to run on a bi-weekly basis. They may include new features. We may touch on certain specifics. For example, one of the things that we didn't get a chance to go through in great detail today were some of the more advanced reports, how to do cash up reconciliation when you don't balance for the day, for example. So that's something that we will cover in future sessions. And it's something that we'd like to continue on an ongoing basis. But obviously, if you do have questions, we do also offer a knowledge base that you're able to go to for answers to questions, or if you just want to send us a message and ask us a question, we're always open to that. You can view our knowledge base if you go to help.salonbridge.co.za, or if you click on this live chat icon in the bottom left-hand side of the screen and you scroll down, there is a need help section where you can actually click on the SalonBridge Help Center, and you'll get taken directly there, where you can see everything from getting started to running reports to client reminders, gift cards, scheduling, online bookings. Anything that you want to know about SalonBridge or how to do something is inside our knowledge base as well, if you find that the live chat feature is not for you. Thank you so much for watching with me and for engaging. I really do encourage you guys to ask questions. If you do have anything that comes to mind, feel free to ask at a later stage as well. But for now, thank you guys so much, and I really look forward to our next session.